first, good morning all the time. So whenever you are meeting me, it's always good morning, because good mornings are good for the energies, fresh, alive, awake. And when you're an entrepreneur, we don't have a choice. It's amazing to be in that mode. So good morning, everyone. If you can click the next slide, very, very important. The first aspect of it is that whenever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are into any segment, any field, you need to build a language sync. And I always speak about it. I always tell about it that, hey, you need to build the language sync. So as example, FI is an idea accelerator and accelerator now as well. And for example, I'm mentoring to the startups. So then these are the stages of startups. So whenever I am dealing with somebody, I need to understand who are those people. So if you are in front of me, I need to understand at what stage you are right now. So for that, I have to understand my definition and your definition should be in sync. So whenever you're dealing with your probable customers, your definitions, your terms should be in the sync with you primarily. So if I just give you a quick example, pre-ideation, ideation, R&D, POC, proto, final product, business model is a pre-seed. Sounds theoretical. I'll give you a very quick example, which can be very relevant from here. I'll take a minute to do it as well. And then it goes to seed, which is alpha, beta, launch, execution, and pre-series A. And then it comes a growth stage where early growth is series A and B, mid is series C, and late is series C, D, E, F. I'm not going much into the growth aspect of it, but I should have a girlfriend is a pre-ideation stage. What kind of girlfriend I should have is an ideation stage. Okay, then I'll do research around my neighbor, my family, my friends, my college, my city, maybe my tour, friends as well. This where I'll figure it out and I'll see that these are the probable candidates who can be the girlfriend for me. Then there is something called POC. It's called proof of concept, but let's cut it. So there is a concept. So if I have a concept in my mind that this is how I'll be friends with her, and then she will be my girlfriend, and then we might get married. This is called concept. Okay, now we need to check that this kind of concept has any kind of proof of success or not. So whether proof exists or not in line to that concept. If it is existing, you don't need to build a POC, but if it doesn't, you need to actually build a POC. You need to tell that, hey, the concept that I have is doesn't have a proof, but I am building that proof right now. So if there is no POC, you need to build it. That is how it happens. Prototype, it's like, you have a proof of concept ready with you, and then you actually trying it. So you approach that girl and try to be the friend. It's called prototype 1. If she says yes, it's a final product. If she says no, then you keep the same method, you change the girl, or you keep the same girl, you change the method, or you change the method, you change the girl. So that's called prototype 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then eventually you go into the final product. So that's all about pre-seed, and that's where the fundamental game of understanding comes in. Alpha, I'm going very quick, next 15 seconds. Alpha is about becoming a girlfriend, boyfriend. Beta is all about going in a live-in relationship. Launch is about getting engaged, and execution is all about getting married. Okay, so now when you try to understand your venture, try to see where you are and try to see what other people try to understand, whether they are incubator, accelerator, or whatever it might be. Last thing, the pre-seed stage where everything is about problem solution fit, and the seed stage is about product market fit. Keshan, if you can go to the next. Yeah, thank you. So I'll take 30 seconds to touch this. It's extremely, extremely important. If your problem is sorted, you are done with everything. So what happens is, if you don't have a very solid clarity on your problem, you'll keep on changing with the input that will come. If you're at an early stage, if you're at a later stage, if your clarity is not strong, you'll keep on changing your solution, you'll keep on changing the way you're doing it, and it is going to be expensive. So first is, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? Stop, put a dot point, don't talk about solutions. So whenever you're trying to work on your venture, no matter at what stage you are, even though you're at a growth stage, series A or B stage, you need to spotlight back on what is the problem that you're trying to solve. Is it the problem in real, or you think it is a problem? So whose problem it is defines your customer. How big the problem is define your market size, and how are they dealing with right now gives you a better understanding. And traditionally, all MSME runs on a SISP structure, which is called solution in search of a problem. And we as a startup need to go in a reverse way, where we need to spotlight the problem and then go toward a solution. Krishna, if you can click next. If you can click next. Yeah. So 4 type of validation, then you need to figure it out. So you need to list problems, pick your favorite problem, validate that problem. Put it aside. Now, once you decide that, once you validated the problem, then try to make a list of solution. So what happens generally with people is that they say that, hey, I come from an IT background, I want to make an app, and then this is the problem that I'm trying to solve. No, that's not the way you should touch it. To address that problem, an app can be a solution, then hardware can be a solution, a community can be a solution, a different thing can be a solution. So make a list of solutions. And when you make a list of solution, make sure that you don't think on whether I should do it, whether I can do it or not, or whether it is doable or not. So don't go into the discussion of agreeing and disagreeing. Just keep on making the list of solutions. Then pick your favorite, validate it, and then try to make a list of business model which can be relevant to it. Pick your favorites, validate that business model, figure out the pricing, validate the pricing. So if you see the sequence of your startup from the beginning till the mid, this is the sequence that you ideally follow. If you can go to next question. Okay, I'm on time. Perfect. So these are some hacks. First thing, already conveyed that everybody is not your customer. So you need to be very definitive on defining your customer. Second is that what I've seen is that a lot of startups fail because they love their ideas. And what happens is that when people criticize it, people say not know about it, they don't like it, and they end up starting focusing not on the customer, not on the revenue, not on the profit. Then they start focusing on Facebook likes, awards, speaking opportunity. That becomes their focus point. So make sure that you don't jump into it. It's all about going and talking to your customers, probable customers who are facing that problem. They may or may not like your solution. They may or may not agree with your problem. That's fine. So don't treat your venture or don't treat your concept or don't treat your ideas as your babies. Because if somebody hurt a baby, it's a painful process. So don't treat your venture as a baby. Don't feel bad about rejections. If somebody is saying no, they're saying no at that moment itself. They're not saying no for a lifetime. So whenever you are trying to reach to your customer, whether you are a bigger company or an idea stage, whenever you are talking to anybody in that matter, if I am trying to convince Keshni to be my customer or a client, if Keshni says no, Keshni is saying no at that moment itself. It doesn't mean that Keshni is saying no for me for a lifetime. Okay. Family and friends are not your real customers. If they are, treat them like one of the customer. Next is talk to people who are facing that problem. So the more you will talk to them, always, whenever we are talking, I'm going to the last second solution that is there. So always make a list. First customer, first 10 customer, first 50, first 100, first 1,000. Try to break your milestones. Try to give a deadline to it, around it. And always make sure that your entire business is about sales, revenue, and then eventually profit. Okay. Now, whenever you are going to understand the people, when you're going to talk to the customer, don't do the Google survey. The last option they should put it. If you're in the early stage, you should do it one-on-one conversation, so you can understand it in the very early phase of life. What problem they are facing. And as a founder or as a core team, you should keep on talking to your customer on a very regular interval. No matter you become a multi-million-dollar company, always talk to your customer, take feedback, improve it, work on it, redo it again, always take an input, and try to figure out early adopters whenever you talk to industry. So I'll give you an example. So whenever I go to a conference, when there are 15 people standing in the round, and I always say that, hey, how many of you watch a movie? And then everybody naturally, majority of saying we say yes. And then I say that, hey, how many of you watch movies without taking reviews, where you watch first day first shows? How many of you like that? So then I might find 2 or 3 people who raise their hand. So out of 15, 2 people who are watching movie without a review, which means their mindset is an early adopter mindset, which means that there is a very high probability of them being my customer primarily. So whenever you are talking to people, try to check what kind of mindset that they have. Like, they are very high risk, open-minded people who comes in the top 5% of your probable audience, who don't mind, they'll try it. They know that you are a startup, they know that it's a first product, they know that you're on early traction, they know that you're on a seed stage, but still they want to try it. Okay. And then there's come then early adopters. So the first this kind of people, you need to find it. So you don't listen no more. If they come, they give a feedback. Next is, whenever you talk to people, whether you are confused in deciding the pricing, deciding the quotation, whatever it might be, whenever you're confused there, try to make them advisors. So if you tell people that, hey, whether you will pay 300 or whether you will pay $500, then naturally people will say 300. But instead you tell them that, hey, you are the person who is probably solving my problem, but I don't want to make you customer. Please be my advisor for a meeting and tell me how much my price should be, what should be my MRP, what should be my business model. So if you will remove them from the customer seat and you put them into the advisory seat, they'll give you the better insight. Instead, they'll not say 300, they'll say that, hey, go for 700, go for this business model. So we are in the world of advisors primarily. So make everyone advisor to take input so you can figure out all your confusion around it. And then always focus on sales, always focus on revenue generation. Last thing, before I move to the last example, do not sell your product or services. Okay, a lot of people tell you, I'm also saying that, hey, focus on sales, do the business, focus on the customer revenue. No, do not sell your product or services to people. Help your probable customer to buy the product or services. There is a very thin line. If you're not selling and if you're helping them to buy, you're trying to understand whether they need your kind of product or service or not. So if you just a very small rewiring around it, it'll be great. I'll just take one extra minute to give you a couple of examples. If you go to the next slide, last 1 minute and I'll close. And this is the last slide. I'm just giving you a quick example. So there is a first company which is making motor, which is designing and manufacturing motor for drones. So, making a motor, designing it, manufacturing it, making a product, iterating it, it takes time. Like it takes a long time to build a patentable product around it. So what happened is that we had a discussion that, hey, we have the skills, we can make a motor. Can we do the technology transfer to the non-emerging industry where you are not planning to enter into the market? So they wanted to make motors for drones, EVs, and robotics and all these things, but they never wanted to go into non-emerging industry, very small products, very small industry. So they started talking and exploring technology transfer agent section. And then the first client they closed was $100,000. The second client they closed was $160,000 without selling a single product, which is the core product. So always try to see that, hey, which are the ways you can make more money. Second example came as a Bliss Natural. They are into women's sanitary napkins, patented technology, plastic-free, hygiene-free product. But when they were at an ideation stage, they never salespeople. They were kind of a technology people. And whenever technology people become a CEO, they never go and market and sell the product. They never make iPhone 1. They always wanted to make iPhone 13. So they'll not say make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They'll always focus on delaying the launch. So I gave them a task that, hey, give me 50 people who are interested to buy your product at X price, and then give me 50 customers in next 48 hours. And if you do it, then we'll talk, otherwise we'll not talk. So they literally went on the ground, they talked to people. Because I was given a deadline to them for 48 hours, they were able to convince 50 people to buy the product whenever they launched the product. They didn't have the product. So it's always about going into that direction, doing it faster, figuring that part out. There is one more company, last example, then I close. So the concept was very new. It was not accepted in market. It was not that much penetrated. So what they did is they converted into a POC. They didn't make a product. They didn't make an app at all. The entire end game was make an app, but they didn't make an app at all. They did it operationally. They went on the ground. They tried the product on the front end. They tried the paid POC with 50 clients operationally. They tried to use some softwares, some technology for an easy way of it, but they never built the product. They tried their product with the 50 paid POC, and then they started making a prototype out of it. And to build that prototype, now they are raising $150,000 just to build that first prototype out of it. So it's all about trying to understand your customer, empathize your customer, figuring out your customer, no matter at what stage you're in, to keep on listening to your customer, and don't afraid in going ahead. Last sentence before I close, that we change every day. Whenever you are confused, you should have 4 kind of mentors with you: tech, subject matter, business, and strategic. If you have 4 kind of mentors to bounce back with, you will not never stop anywhere. And all the best with your journey, and always happy and available to add value in